Hello students, today we have to start with how the price and output to be determined under perfect competitions. Already you know the meaning of perfect competitions. Perfect competition, a market is called as a perfect competitive market if it possesses following characteristics like the existence of large number of buyers and sellers, it produces a homogeneous product at uniform price, there is free entry and exit, there is no protection, there is absence of transportation cost and selling cost. The producer always to be treated as a price taker, it accepts the ruling price of the market. As he is a price taker, therefore, there is zero control over the price of the product. That means the producer do not have any control over the price, it just accept what the price prevail in the market. Thereafter, the producer always on normal profit in long run. That means there is no questions of supernormal profit, abnormal profit, normal profit, or it is called as the losses in long run. There existence of only normal profit. But in short run, the producer may face all the situations. Here the farm and industry are completely differ. I mean the market consists of some aggregation of individual farms and there is the presence of supply curve. That means those segment of your marginal cost which is lies over and above the minimum point of average variable cost to be represented as the supply curve. And here the demand curve is a horizontal straight line. That means the average revenue curve which is to be coincide with the marginal revenue, it will be a horizontal straight line whose elasticity is equals to 1. These are the common features what you already know in order to explain a particular market to be treated as a perfect competitive market. Then how the price and output to be determined, in which is the pricing to be set. In order to set the price for the product, we know the existence of two marginalistic conditions. The first one, the marginal revenue must be equal to the marginal cost, and second condition is marginal cost cut marginal revenue from below, or in the other way marginal cost rise after the point of your equilibrium, right. These are the two conditions of equilibrium of a farm. Now, considering that, we have to explain how the price and output to be determined in perfect competition both in short run as well as in case of your long run. In long run how it will determine the price, and in short run how it will determine the price and output. So, we have to cover both the situation short run and long run. That means short run price output determination and long run price output determinations. In short run, we have to pass through the different situations like supernormal profit, normal profit, losses, and we may explain the term that is called the shutdown point. Right. But in case of your long run, there existence of only one case, that is called the normal profit. There is no other situation to be occur. Even though some supernormal profit occur, if the supernormal profit occur, then new producer can enter into the industry and take away the profit. Similarly, if the loss to be occur, some of the existing producers may quit the industry. So, these things are to be applicable in case of long run, because in the long run the new producer can enter and exit the industry. That means there is free entry and exit, right. But in short run there is no questions of entry and exit. I mean देखिए entry exit नुआ producer आसुचंदी को केस रे long run रे किंबा existing producer छाड़ी की जाउचंदी भारी long run रे किंतु short run रे as it is a perfect competition, but in short run entry is blocked. No other producer can enter into or existing producer can quit the industry. It is not possible to be here in case of your short run. So, in short run we can face different type of situation, but in long run there is no questions of your supernormal profit or losses. Even though it will bear some amount of losses or some amount of supernormal profit, then automatic adjustment to be takes place. That means, if supernormal profit, new producer enter, if it is the losses, existing producer may quit the industries. Okay. Now, we have to enter into the short run price output determination, we have to pass it through each and every bit of it, supernormal, normal, losses and shutdown point. Let us start with the short run pricing under profit competition. We start with the first bit, that is called as the supernormal profit. Actually, supernormal profit means na excess profit, how the profit to be calculated, profit केमते हमें calculate करिबा. Now, taking the difference between the revenue and cost, right, and total profit, that is the profit can be calculated taking the difference between your total revenue and total cost. If total revenue is more than the total cost, then we can say yes, there is a supernormal profit, that is the profit is positive, right. And here is the case of your supernormal profit, means total revenue greater than the total cost. If you take the per unit, आम जदि यूनिट पिछा देखा ताले कौन हम ना एवरेज रेवेन्यू मस्ट बी लाइज अबव द एवरेज कस्ट, मीन्स एवरेज रेवेन्यूटा एवरेज कस्ट मिनिमम पॉइंट ऊपर रहिबो, ताले आम कहबा ताको सुपरनॉर्मल प्रॉफिट. लेट्स से कंसीडरिंग दिस वी हैव टू एक्सप्लेन बोथ फार्म एंड इंडस्ट्रीज. Farm, and this is the market. In case of your farm, we explain here is the output and here is to be revenue and cost. But in case of a market, we have to consider this side is your price and this side is the quantity. Now, in market or industry, the equilibrium can take place when demand and supply they are intersect each other. The demand of supply intersect korchunti at the point E1, that determines the equilibrium quantity is to be OM1 and equilibrium price is to be OP1. We assume inside the market there existence of 100 farms inside the industries, right. This is the total outcome of all 100 farms, got it. But how the individual pricing is to be takes place? In order to finding it out, as he is a price taker, it accepts the ruling price of the market. So, this particular line, the price line is called as the demand curve or average revenue curve, marginal revenue curve. Okay. Now, we are targeted the supernormal profit. The supernormal profit in the sense average revenue must be more than the minimum point of your average cost curve. That means, we have to draw the curve in such a way, certain average cost, its minimum point to be here, means average revenue lie above the minimum point of your average variable, that is called the average certain average cost curve or simply is called as the certain cost. Now, we have to draw the corresponding marginal cost, this is the certain marginal cost and the point of equilibrium is to be here is to be E1. Why it is so? Because here is also the MR equal to MC, here is also MR equal to MC, but after equilibrium MC fall, but targeted is that after equilibrium MC must rise, or in the other way marginal cost cut marginal revenue from below, not from above. Okay. So, what is the equilibrium quantity of individual firms? It is OQ1, that means OQ1 into 100 it turns to be OM1. Okay. Now, what is the total revenue? We need to finding out the total revenue. Now, price into quantity, price kete ache, now OP1, quantity kete, now OQ1. When you multiplying the price with the quantity, we find the area of this particular rectangle, that is called the OP1 E1 Q1. So, OP1 E1 Q1 is called as the total revenue. What are the total cost? You need to finding out the total cost. While dropping the perpendicular from the point of equilibrium, कोठी meet करछे average cost को meet करछे at the point of F1. So, F1 Q1 is the average cost, that is the cost per unit, or when we extend this particular line to this side, OC1 to be treated as the cost per unit. And what is the total cost? Now OC1 into OQ1. So while multiplying OC1 with OQ1, we find the area OC1 F1Q1. OC1 F1Q1 is called as the total cost. While you taking the difference between total revenue and total cost, we find this the shaded area is to be known as the profit. Okay. This shaded area, that to be the P1, E1, F1 and C1, that particular area is to be called as the supernormal profit. Okay. As we are in the short run, the producer what he earn the supernormal profit it will enjoy. कहीं से करिवो से एंजॉय करिवो कहीं के नुआ प्रोड्यूसर एंट्री करि परिबे नाही इवन दो इट इज ए परफेक्ट कंपटीशन हम माने शॉर्ट रन रे अछि जेहेतु शॉर्ट रन रे अछि नो अदर प्रोड्यूसर कैन एंटर इनटू द फार्म or it is called the enter into the industry or the market. So therefore the existing producer or enjoy this supernormal profit. Okay. Now after knowing the supernormal profit, move to the normal profit. In case of your normal profit, there is a condition. Normal profit means total revenue must be equal to the total cost. Total revenue jitna total cost is the saman hai, that is the called the normal profit. That means the profit turns to be 0. When profit turns to be 0, that is called the normal profit. Okay. So that means if you take into account per unit, it is the average revenue and average cost, they are equals to each other. Average revenue and average cost equals to each other, or in the other way you can say that average revenue curve tangent the minimum point of your average cost, and that is the situation of your normal profit. Okay. Now we have to draw the corresponding firms and industry. This is the firm's point of view, the revenue and cost, and this is the output. So this is your industry as such it may there or the market, right. Now as the demand and intersect are equals to each other or intersect each other at the point E1, so it determine equilibrium price to be P1 and quantity to be OM1. When that particular price to be accepted by all the firm inside the industry, then the equilibrium, that is called as the price line or the average revenue or marginal revenue curve, or it is called as the demand curve, to be a horizontal straight line. Now in this particular horizontal straight line, we represent the average and marginal revenue. And what the condition? The condition is that revenue curve, average revenue curve must be equal to the average cost. It is possible when it to be tangent, when average cost tangent the average revenue. हमें in such a way drawn करिबा average cost को, so that it to be, this is the certain average cost, so that it to be tangent at a particular point, it touches at a particular point, and corresponding marginal cost is to be here, certain marginal cost, and we know this is the point of equilibrium because the condition of the marginalistic condition, MR equal to MC to be rise after the point of equilibrium, and from that when we dropping the perpendicular it will be OQ1, each and every individual producer OQ1 amount of output, and there are the 100 firms inside the industry. So, when OQ1 multiply with 100, we find it is OM1. Okay. And what about the total revenue and total cost? In this case, the total revenue and total cost both are same. How it is so? Now, from the point of equilibrium, when you drop it, OQ1 is called the output, but what the price? Now, price is the same point it is the average revenue. So, therefore, E1 Q1 is called as the price per unit, or in this way OP1 is called the price per unit. When multiplying OP1 with OQ1, we find the area OP1 E1 Q1, OP1 E1 Q1, that is called as the total revenue, and same amount to be treated as the total cost. Why it is so? Because while you drop the perpendicular, it made the average cost also at the same point. ଆମେ ଯେତେବେଳେ perpendicular drop କରୁଛେ average cost को ମଧ୍ୟ सेही point रे meet କରୁଛे, ସେଥିପାଇଁ E1 Q1 also be known as the cost per unit. And what about the total cost? Now OP1 E1 Q1. So the total revenue and total cost both are same. Therefore there is no questions of your supernormal profit or losses. It is called as the normal profit. Okay. Now After knowing the normal profit, move to the next bit, that is called as the loss. And loss occur to the producer. Loss occur to the producer when total revenue is less than the total cost. The loss situation to be occur when total revenue is less than the total cost. That means total cost is more than the revenue, or in the other way, if you explain the per unit average revenue lie below the average cost, when average cost टा ऊपर रहेगा, average revenue तले रहेगा, right? Considering that, सेही कथा को मुंडा भीतर रखी कि we have to draw the curve, okay? In case of your firm, we have to draw the average revenue curve and marginal revenue curve. Why this is the average revenue and marginal revenue curve? Because we know the producer, in case of a profit competition, it is a price taker, it accepts the ruling price of the market. In market, the equilibrium can be takes place when the demand and supply for the product to be equal to each other at the point E1. We determine OM1 is the equilibrium quantity and OP1 is the equilibrium price. As the profit competitive producer is a price taker, it accepts the ruling price of the market, therefore, this particular price is to be accepted by all the producers. And this line to be treated as the price line or in the demand curve, which is called the average revenue and marginal revenue curve. Now, as my target is to be your loss, and loss means revenue curve must be less than the cost curve. Revenue curve is there, is to be less than the cost curve must be lies above it. This is the certain average cost, this is the certain average cost, its minimum point to be here. That is the condition, the cost is to be more than the revenue or revenue is to be less than the cost. Now, we have to trace the corresponding certain marginal cost curve must be passes through the minimum point, because we know that the three condition the relationship to be takes place between average cost and marginal cost. When marginal cost lie below the average cost falls. When marginal cost lie above the average cost rises, and at the minimum point they are equals to each other. At the minimum point of average cost equal to marginal cost. Okay. Now, where is the point of equilibrium? This is not the point of equilibrium. Where is the point? Because we know condition is written here. What is that? Marginal revenue must be equal to the marginal cost, and it is so at this point or at this point. But the second condition tells us MC must rise at the point of equilibrium, or marginal revenue, that is the marginal cost, cut it from below, not cut it from above. So, this should not be treated as the equilibrium, rather this is the point of equilibrium. When we find E1 is the equilibrium point, draw the perpendicular, OQ1 is the equilibrium quantity, and what about the price? Now, price is where is the from the point of equilibrium, this is the average revenue is called the price. So, E1 Q1 also is the price per unit, or if you extend to this side, OP1 is the price per unit, got it. Now, what is total revenue? Now, total revenue that equals to OP1 into OQ1. तो आम मल्टीप्लाय करिबा OP1 रे OQ1 को, देन आम कौन पाइबा ना OP1 E1 Q1, this is called as the total revenue. Then what is the cost? Now, to finding out the cost, जो आम इक्विलिब्रियम रो में ड्रॉप करते परपेंडिकुलर एवरेज कॉस्ट को एटा मीट करी नै तो बोले, in order to meet the average cost is here, this is the average cost. Now, we have to extend that line until it meet the average cost. So, this is the point F1. So, F1 Q1 to be considered as the cost per unit. I mean, the F1 Q1 कहिबा cost per unit, ताले total cost केते होबो? Now, F1 Q1 is the same thing as OC1. So, OC1 also be known as the cost per unit. Multiply OC1 with OQ1, we find the area OC1 F1 Q1. OC1 F1 Q1. Now, cost is how much? OC1 F1 Q1. Revenue is how much? OP1 E1 Q1. So, which one is the more? Cost is more than the revenue. If the cost is more than the revenue, means sales receipt is less than the expenses in order to producing the product, right. So, we find the cost is more than the revenue, therefore, the loss occur to the area this. Okay, this is your loss area. That means the loss occurred, that is called the negative profit also, that is the P1 E1 F1 C1. So, P1 E1 F1 C1 to be considered as the loss area. Now, the question to be arises, if the producer bear losses, the loss se bear karuchi, ताले से कंटिन्यू करियो बिजनेस ना तार बंद करी पड़ाइबो, शट डाउन करी पड़ाइबो किबा कंटिन्यू करियो बिजनेस. आमे जब कंपेयर करिबा एटी कोन obviously in ours we observe that revenue is to be less than the cost, then definitely we have to bear the losses, we have to quit the industry, but actually it is not so. We should not quit it, we have to compare the other things. What you have to compare na ami jaha bikri kari jaha pauche, that is called the total revenue. We have to compare with that of your cost, and that the cost, but the cost consists of two things. कौन ना टोटल फिक्स कॉस्ट एंड टोटल वेरिएबल कॉस्ट आम दुईटा जिन कनसीडर करुचे. फिक्स एक्सपेंसेस कौन वेरिएबल एक्सपेंसेस कौन, जो आम फिक्स टोटल रेवेन्यूटा आमर दरकार फिक्स्ड एक्सपेंसेस को कवर अप करूँ कि न करूँ, दैट इज नॉट अ मैटर ऑफ फैक्ट, बट आवर टारगेट इज टू बी मेंटेनेंस कॉस्ट. इफ रेवेन्यू इज टू बी मोर देन द maintenance cost, even though it is addition aggregation concept, you find total revenue is less than the total cost. But if the total revenue compare with the total variable cost, if the revenue is more than the total variable cost, even though loss is to be continue the business, loss bear कले बद्ध कंटिन्यू करिवो काहे के ना से तार मेंटेनेंस कॉस्ट को कवर अप करि परछे. ताले केतलो पर्यंत कवर अप करिवो ना जेतले टोटल रेवेन्यूटा टोटल वेरिएबल कॉस्ट सहित समान हे जिवो. That means जेतले एवरेज रेवेन्यूटा एवरेज वेरिएबल कॉस्ट सहित समान हे जिवो. आमे कोन करिबा, यस the producer it to be continuous till this particular point. If price falls little bit, if the price falls little bit, it will shut down the business, and that one you can explain it here by drawing the average variable cost like this, average variable cost. This is the point of the shutdown point, this is the shutdown point, and if the price falls below little bit, he may quit the industries. Okay. So, this is all about how the price and output to be determined in perfect competitions, that too in short run. So, in the coming class we have to start with the price output determination in perfect competition, that too in long run. Thank you for today.